Hi guys, welcome to Daddy in the Don Interrogation time. My guest today is the Bear. He is a die-hard Newcastle fan and he's here today to talk all things Newcastle. Hello, Bear. So, in a few words, how do you sum up last season?
Good afternoon, Graham. I'd probably sum up Newcastle's season last year as a season of missed opportunities, especially when you look at our League Cup run, arguably our best run we've had for a while, and probably our best opportunity to actually win some silverware.
Okay, so upcoming season. What is your realistic expectations? How do you think you lot are going to do, and do you think that you can surprise a few people?
Looking ahead to this season, without trying to be a bit of a Debbie Downer before the season's even started, I'm probably going to expect this upcoming season to be a lot like last season. I think we have the players to be able to surprise a few people with results here and there, but unless we get some decent players in and strengthen the squad, I reckon realistically we're probably going to be looking at mid-table at best, possibly worst case scenario, obviously dropping into the relegation battle like we did last season.
Do you think you need to strengthen the squad? And if so, what areas would you prioritise and areas that you would like to see? And is there a player in particular that you'd love to come to the club?
I definitely think Steve Bruce needs to strengthen the team for next season. Obvious choice of position you're going to look at first is centre forward. You know, the fact that we've released Andy Carroll, there's talks of Muir being sold, only leaves Wilson, Gale and Joe Linton. You know, everyone knows that Joe Linton hasn't exactly been the super striker we expect him to be. Gale's been very hit and miss, and obviously I don't want to be too critical on the lad, but obviously he's found it hard to break into the starting 11. No, Wilson, in my opinion, is right choice to wear number 9 for next season. Might help with Joe Linton, take the pressure off him, but also adds a bit more pressure on Wilson. But I reckon Wilson will be able to handle it. With our limited budget, I can't see us spending big or be able to afford, you know, a decent 15-20 mil striker. So I reckon they're probably going to look at either trying to bed in the youngsters, which is probably might be a bit difficult for them, you know, of the pressure that's going to be on them. So I reckon Brucey's probably going to look at trying to get a loan deal in to help out there. Maybe bringing another centre back. Seems like we've sold Lejeune, which in my opinion is a big mistake. And I think we should have kept hold of him. And considering we've only really got 3 out and out centre backs, if we end up having injury problems like we did last season, this is where we could find it difficult and probably end up dropping down the relegation battle next season.
Joe Willock, what do you think about him possibly coming back? Do you reckon it's good to get him alone, or do you reckon you should just splash out the 20 million? Because he seemed like he really enjoyed his time there, and I think he could be a talisman. I think he's got potential, and I think Newcastle's a squad where he can really show his quality. Do you agree with me?
Oh, definitely. No, I'd love to see Joe Willock come back and play for Newcastle next season. You know, I imagine every Newcastle fan would want to see that transfer happen, whether it's a loan deal or permanent. Obviously, ideal world. I'd love it if Mike Ashley gives Steve Bruce a 20 mil and go out and buy him tomorrow, but I reckon we're looking at more of a loan deal for the season. Maybe with potentially a view to buy come next season, depends on what happens with the takeover. You know, but hats off to lad for what he achieved and how he formed in the few months he was with us. He seemed to gel and fit into the squad as if he'd been playing with them from the beginning of last season. You know, the teamwork, you know, the chemistry he had with Wilson and St. Maximum, you know, was absolutely phenomenal to watch at times. And the fact that he broke the record and scored in 7 or 8 consecutive games last season, you know, hats off to lad. You know, I would love for him to walk through the door tomorrow and be back at Newcastle next season. But, you know, he's hoping.
Okay, so Steve Bruce. I know a lot of people don't like Steve Bruce. How do you think he's done so far? And do you think he's going to last this season, or do you reckon he's on borrowed time?
Like many Newcastle fans, I was surprised when Steve Bruce was appointed as our boss to take over from Rafa. I think he's probably done okay especially considering the transfer restraints he's had with lack of budget and like constantly having to sell to buy and actually not fulfilling promises. You know, injuries last season and the coronavirus, with players coming down with the coronavirus, didn't help. I think, you know, the appointment of Graham Jones definitely helped turn the season around, you know, last season. But looking forward to this, you know, next season, I wouldn't be surprised if Steve Bruce is sacked by Christmas, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he's still our boss at the end of the season. You know, obviously, with being a Newcastle fan himself, he wants the best for the club. You know, obviously will try to achieve the best. But at the same time, I don't think Steve Bruce is a manager who can propel Newcastle to the next level and get us pushing for Europe as well. So I definitely think, if I was a betting man, I'd probably say Steve Bruce is either left or will be sacked by Christmas.
I'll do a Newcastle video and not ask you about your owner, Mike Ashley. Do you like him? I probably know the answer to this. Is he someone that you really want to get out? And are you hopeful that someone will buy the club eventually at some point? Or do you think you're stuck with him for a few more years?
You know, I surprise a few people sometimes when getting on topic of Mike Ashley. Yes, you know, he's not the most loved chairman in the world. Yes, there's no secret he's been wanting to sell the club for the last several seasons. And obviously every takeover bid we get or talk a takeover, you know, always goes down the pan. But at the same time, you know, I've got to give credit to the guy. You know, he took over the club. You know, exception maybe your team, Arsenal. You know, I think we're the only two clubs in the Premier League that are completely debt free. You know, so I've got to thank him for that. Even though obviously he has taken the money out of the club to repay the loan. In terms of obviously the TV money and prize money we've got, which is obviously fair enough. I just wish, you know, looking at this summer and previous summers, when we had the likes of Rafa and going back to, you know, the Keegan days when he hired Dennis Wise against Keegan's wishes. I just wish he'd just keep his nose out of, like, obviously what goes on, what the manager wants to do, and just go to the manager, you know, he's 50, 60 million, bring the players you want, you know, and then we'll look at it again, you know, next transfer or next, you know, season. You know, Rafa, we had one of the, you know, greatest managers we've had in Rafa since probably, you know, Brian Robson, you know, and all he wanted was a bit of money to strengthen the team. You know, it's not exactly too much to ask. And, you know, yes, we get all the TV money, Premier League money, etc., etc. You know, it's just unfair on a lot of managers to constantly having to sell to try and bring in players and be under that restraint with a transfer budget. You know, I'd have loved it last year if, you know, the Saudi-backed PIF team and the Reuben brothers with Staveley going ahead of that, and I'd love it if the transfer did go ahead. I definitely think that the top 6 clubs have had something to do with that, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was linked in with the whole Super League that was released last year. I definitely think the Premier League are hiding something with that. You know, and obviously just got to wait and see what happens now with Ashley's, you know, Ashley versus Premier League in the whole court of arbitrations. I definitely think Ashley's at the point now where he wants to sell. It's just trying to find someone who's willing to take over the club and try and move it forward. You know, I'd love it if it was, you know, the Saudi-backed, you know, PIF team with Reuben brothers, you know, bringing some actually decent money into the club and actually try and make us the team we once were. When you look at back in the day when we used to constantly, you know, be fighting for Europe and Champions League. But I reckon we're probably going to be stuck with Ashley for another couple of seasons yet, which, you know, isn't the greatest thing to look forward to. But, you know, hopefully the court case goes well, and maybe this time next year we'll have new owners in place.
I know we spoke about expectations. If you get players that you want and players that you need, do you think you can possibly push for Europe, or is that asking too much? And do you reckon this is the year that you finally win a trophy, or is that just completely out of it with Brucey in charge?
If we were able to bring in a few decent players to strengthen the team, you know, the squad we've got, considering how well we finished last season, if we go on a nice little run, you know, it would be good to try and push for European place. Silverware, you know, yes, I'd love to see it happen. I'd love to, you know, have to celebrate, you know, a bit of silverware come Newcastle. considering we've not won anything in the last 50, 60 years. But I can't see that happening. I'd love it if we did, like I said, but I think last year was our missed opportunity to push and fight to get all the way to semi-final, if not a final in the League Cup. But no, fair play at Brentford last year. Played better than us on the day. The numbers deserved winners in that game. I think if we did get Europe under Bruce, I think it would be a good step in the right direction, considering we've not had a season like that since Pardew was there. In a team like Newcastle, with the support we've got, I think not getting in Europe is definitely hampering us with trying to bring in better players and world-class players. When you look back, when we had Boy Robson there, we were, always fighting for Champions League places, Europa League places. It's definitely a lot, me included, but ask every Newcastle fan, they miss European nights at St James's Park, and I think it's definitely what that team, what that club deserve. And it would be good to try and fight for them places next season.
Okay, Andrew, thank you so much for being on the show. Before I let you go, one word to describe the upcoming season for Newcastle.
No worries, Graham. Thanks for having me on the show. My word to describe our upcoming season? Apprehensive.